Hey, what is going on? Counter1 here, you guys are winners, and today, Unreal Talkament again. This episode I'm just going to be talking at the microphone because nothing happened again. I'm just going to be talking probably quite a bit about Linux and how the Unreal, a bit of Unreal Tournament and how arena shooters in general on Linux are doing right now, and a bit of gaming on Linux. When this video goes up, I am going to be probably in a car on the way to Scotland, which is the reason I don't have very much time to record this. So yeah, very low edited, but it's better than nothing, and realistically this is about all you're going to get because not too much happened this week. If something did happen, put it down, I'll put it in next week when I've got the time to do all of that. So yeah, why do I do this about arena shooters on Linux? Well, because I like Unreal Tournament and I use Linux and I needed something to do, so I did this. That was basically the reason. That's the reason it's called Unreal Talkament. The first show was entirely dedicated to Unreal Tournament because I didn't know which one I was going to do. I'm glad I did overall on Linux. So, where does Linux stand in terms of gaming? Actually quite well, I personally believe. Minecraft, very massive game, works. Wine works for a lot of things, but even just native games. You got Unreal Tournament, you got Quake 3, you got Doom, you got all these games. You've got a lot of games that do work natively on Linux. It's just not AAA games in general, because the 2% market share just isn't enough. However, there was that PC Master Race poll that showed people, 76% I think it was, in the end, prefer Linux as an operating system, and that is good. It doesn't mean they use it, it just means that they actually prefer it, which is great news for everyone on Linux because maybe we'll see some more games. Personally, I've always built my games for Linux because I've used Unity and now moving on to Godot or Godot, just purely on the basis that I've always just been able to, so I always have really. So that's good. But where do arena shooters stand? Well, we've got Warsaw, which is quite small. We've got Quake 3, which is gone. Quake Live used to have quite a player base on Linux, but then they didn't move it over when they went standalone with it. I don't know what happened there. Apparently there wasn't a very big player base in Linux, but I'm going to guess there wasn't a very big player base at the point when they changed it over anyway for the entirety of that game. So yeah, Unreal Tournament, the first one came out and it was on Linux, then it didn't, the rest didn't up until Unreal Tournament 4, which is now out, and you should go and play it. It'll be the background footage because that's all I'll have. So realistically, we haven't got very many, but the ones we do have, there's Xonotic, I think it is. That's very good on Linux. Apparently it's a Quake 3 CPMA plus Unreal Tournament weapon play, which I should really check it out, and I possibly will over the next few weeks if I have the time. So yeah, that's realistically, Linux doesn't really do very well for gaming. It's a very good operating system. If you haven't used it, just install it. It's very easy to install nowadays. Go with Ubuntu or Antergos or Mint. One of those few and you'll be perfectly fine. Nothing's going to be a massive problem for you. You might, personally I'd go with Mint because it's got a little guide on how to install it, and it will get installed whatever your graphics driver problems. It takes a bit of fiddling, but you know, whatever. Windows takes a bit of fiddling around as well sometimes. So why do I play games on Linux? Realistically, it's just my favourite operating system personally. I swapped over to Linux earlier this year, around mid-January, full time after dual booting for quite a while. I swapped over just on the basis that I installed Windows and it was 22 gigs. My favourite thing about Linux, on the laptop I'm currently using to record this, is that it has an SSHD, which means it's got a bit of cache that's an SSD, and then the rest of the terabyte is a standard hard disk. It's got 8 gigs. It's got 8 gigs. Mint is 6, which means that the boot time on this is SSD levels. The boot time on Windows is about hard drive levels pretty much, and then when you actually try to run things, it's hard drive levels again. So it's really, it's just honestly, for the things that I use it for, it's definitely just a snappier operating system, and I'm perfectly happy with the games I am able to play on it. Some people won't be. Some people want to play things like Overwatch or the latest AAA releases, but for me, I'm perfectly happy. So yeah, I think that's about going to do it, because I don't want this to be going on too long. Hopefully you have a good week. I'm sorry that this is just a crappy episode, but it's kind of how it's just had to be. I'd love to hear what your opinions are, why you swapped over to Linux, why you use Linux, what your reasons are. I'd love to hear if you don't use Linux, but you still for some reason watch this show entirely based on Linux. I suppose I haven't really seen a news show about other arena FPSs really, that's as regular, so fair enough. Hopefully you all have a great time. I'll see you next week.